Hello students, how are you? Today we will discuss our next topic, that is the Constitution of India, and this lecture is for 7th class. Let us start the topic. First of all, we take the meaning of the Constitution. What is the Constitution? So Constitution is a document which contains details of how to govern our country. Constitution is a framework within which a government has to function. It should not break the boundaries of the Constitution. It has to work within the framework of our Constitution. Constitution defines the powers and functions of different organs of the government. Now, what are the different organs of the government? You can see in the first picture, there is the picture of the Constitution of India, and in the second picture, you can see the organs of the government, that is the legislative, judiciary, and executive. Legislative can make the laws, judiciary interprets the laws, and executive enforces the law. So these are the three organs of the government. So our constitution defines the powers and functions of the different organs of the government and also enumerates fundamental rights and fundamental duties of the citizens. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties we will discuss in this chapter only. Our constitution explains our national goals like democracy, socialism, secularism, liberty, equality, fraternity, etc. All these terms like democracy, socialism, secularism, liberty, equality, fraternity, we will discuss in a preamble in this chapter only. Thus, our constitution has importance of its own and we must show our respect to it. Beginning of a new era. On 26 January 1950, we began to govern ourselves according to the rules framed by our own elected representatives. The constitution was enforced on this day. Thus, that's why we are celebrating Republic Day every year on 26 January, Ganatantra Divas. Because on this day, we begin to govern ourselves according to the rules which are written in the constitution. And these rules were being framed by our own elected representatives. But before this, before our independence, before 15th August 1947 or before 26 January 1950, our country was being governed by the rules framed by the British government. Right to vote was given to few selected adults. We were enslaved to the Britishers, gulam the. There was so much discrimination in our Indian society at that time. Thus, after independence, a constitution was framed for the country and there was a new beginning or in beginning of a new era or period in which everybody, every citizen of the country is given the right to vote, is given right to education, is given right against exploitation, is given right everything, right to freedom of speech. Is it clear? So there was a new beginning in which every citizen of our country has been given rights. There is no discrimination in our Indian society. Everybody is equal. The Constituent Assembly. Clement Attlee, the British Prime Minister, when this is that time when we were enslaved of the Britishers. So Clement Attlee on February 19, 1946 in the House of Commons declared that a cabinet mission should be sent to India to facilitate the process of transfer of power, that is independence of our India. This cabinet mission is having one clause in their proposal, that is the formation of Constituent Assembly, in which they have told that our cabinet mission has told that a Constituent Assembly should be set up to frame constitution for Indian Union. So the cabinet mission being sent by Clement Attlee was having a clause in which they have told that told to the interim government at that time that you have to form a Constituent Assembly which will frame the constitution for the Indian Union. So our constitution was being framed by the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly had a wide-ranging representation a majority of members belonged to the Indian National Congress and other political parties. The prominent members were Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Maulana Azad, Satish Sapru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and others. There were 30 scheduled caste members. Frank Anthony and Dr. H.P. Modi represented Anglo-Indians and Parsis respectively. There were also women members like Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of our India, and Vijayalakshmi Pandit, sister of our Jawaharlal Nehru. So my dear student, in the Constituent Assembly, the interim government has given representation to each and every community of our India at that time. There were minorities, there were Muslims, there were Sikhs, there were Parsis, there were Anglo-Indians, there were 30 scheduled caste members also, there were women also. So they have given representation to each and every community of India at that time, so that there should not be discrimination with any community. The drafting committee. On 29th August 1947, the Assembly appointed a drafting committee under the chairmanship of Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to prepare a draft of the Constitution. The important members of the committee were Shri N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Shri Aladi Krishna Swamy Iyer, Shri K. M. Munshi, and Shri Sayyid Muhammad Sadullah. Some provisions of the Constitution were immediately put into effect, but the Constitution as a whole came into force with effect from 26 January 1950, and we celebrate our Republic Day on 26 January every year. And we began to govern ourselves by the rules being framed by the representatives which were being elected by the common person of our India. So with this we have finished with our drafting committee. In our next video we will deal with preamble, with fundamental rights and fundamental duties.